Hi everyone, Miss Whitaker here, and today we're going to be talking about electromagnetic energy and the transfer of that energy. So let's just start off with the basics. Everything above the theoretical temperature of absolute zero gives off some form of electromagnetic energy. So you, the device that you're watching this video on, this orange, this table, everything gives off some form of energy. And the thing that determines the type of energy given off by a substance is the wavelength of the energy produced. So we've talked about wavelength before. Wavelength is a distance between one crest and the next. So in this case, I have a relatively short wavelength. This would indicate a higher energy system. As I spread it out, my wavelength gets greater, indicating a lower energy system. So how does this tie into things? Well, a couple of things. It's the way that we create X-rays and microwaves and things like that. It also allows us to see color because different objects absorb and reflect different wavelengths of color. So for example, this orange is orange because it absorbs all the colors except for orange, which reflects back to your eyes. This rock is green because it's absorbing all the energy in the different wavelengths except for green, which is being reflected back to you. And my dinosaur, which is a mixture of green and brown, is absorbing all the colors except green and brown, which is reflecting back to you. So that's electromagnetic energy. So now that we have the energy, how does it move around? If we didn't have a transfer of energy, then we'd have really extremes when it came to temperature. You'd have really, really extremely hot places and really, really extremely cold places. So it's the transfer of energy that allows the energy to move around from one object to the next. So there are three types of energy transfer. The first type is radiation. So radiation is how we get energy from the sun. It's how energy goes through the vacuum of space. It's how energy travels through transparent things like windows. It's how this candle is radiating energy out in all directions. Once that takes place, another type of energy that ties in would be conduction. Conduction is a transfer of energy by touch. So if I put this metal skewer inside the candle, it's going to heat up the metal skewer actually relatively quickly because metal conducts energy very, very quickly, and so it would move right to my hand and eventually would probably burn my hand. Another way that we see conduction is with an ice cube. If I put an ice cube in my hand, by touch, energy is transferring from my hand into the ice cube. Remember that energy always flows from high to low, so it's moving from my warmer hand into the colder ice, making my hand feel cold. So that's a transfer of energy by conduction. Works best in solids because it's by touch, so the collision of molecules is more efficient in that case. The last type is convection, and convection is super important. We've talked about it before. It's why the plates move. It's also why we get storms. Convection goes through fluids. Fluids flow, so that would be things like liquids and gases. So less dense, heated, rises. More dense, sinks and replaces. And so this circulation drives the plates, drives the weather, and it's also just how weather and energy transfers in general. Once the ground is heated up, it's moved through convection. So with this candle, it's radiating light in all directions, but the heat is rising, and I can put my hand over it and feel the convection, right? I can feel the heat rising into my hand. And then as it cools down, it'll sink back around. So those are the three types of energy transfer. That's the difference in energy types, wavelength. If you're taking this for a class, it might be helpful to write down this quick concept map. I will take a picture of it and put it at the end of this video so you can write it down and see the main ideas. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you back here again soon. Well, it looks like I overcooked my eggs, but this is a great example showing how all of those pieces tie in together. So the burner is creating radiation, which sends out energy in all directions. It touches the pan, and by conduction, it heats the eggs, and you can see the steam above the eggs, which is the convection.